Hey guys, welcome back to Standard Time. Tudor just launched their MN Marine Nationale collaboration, which is a new Pelagos FXD. Now FXD, what does it stand for? It's fixed bracelet bars. Now essentially this watch is a Pelagos with 200 meters of water resistance compared to 500 on the regular one. No helium escape valve, and the main thing is the fact that the lugs and spring bars are now bracelet bars. So they are part of the entire geometry of the case and they can't be removed. Now this is really important in the case of diving, because in the military context you really need your watch to be extremely reliable as a tool and not slip off your wrist, and there's always that chance with regular spring bars of one or both of them failing, and that's the reason we even have NATO straps in the first place, because if one of them fails the watch is still attached by the other. But in the case of this fixed bracelet bars, nothing can fail essentially, and that's why it's designed so. Now the differences between this and the regular Pelagos, firstly, one of the most important things is price. This is actually less expensive even though it's a unique collab, and I think that was a fantastically smart move by Tudor. They could have easily priced it a little bit more. But the thing is, you do get a little bit less watch because you don't get that titanium bracelet. The case is titanium just like the regular Pelagos, and it's also 42 millimeters, but the thickness is less at 12.75 because you don't have that added water resistance and you don't have the helium escape valve. Now the dial itself is missing a date. Now this is one of the things that everyone's been asking for since the Tudor Black Bay, which is a no date watch. This is essentially a no date Pelagos, and that's wonderful in terms of dial symmetry and just the general aesthetic of the watch. Now if you take a closer look at the dial, it's also a different shade of blue. This is a brighter sort of shade of navy than the Pelagos, I believe, the regular one, but I'm not too sure because I haven't seen this in person. But taking a closer look at the dial, you will notice that it's not stepped down the same way the regular Pelagos is, especially at the chapter ring area. So they removed that to reduce some of the thickness, and I prefer it because I prefer it when the dial is as close to the crystal as possible. I don't like a really recessed dial. One of the key differences when it comes to the functionality of the watch is the bezel. Now this is a dive watch, but it has a bidirectional bezel. Now a key feature to note with this bezel is the fact that it's retrograde. What does that mean? It means it's a count down bezel instead of a count up. That also means that this is not rated to the same ISO diver specification, because this has a specific use case in terms of the French military, the Marine Nationale, and they have certain exercises that they perform underwater which involves bidirectional use of the bezel. Now it is 120 click, but does this difference, the fact that it's bidirectional, really mean anything to the common consumer? I think not. It's just more convenient to time things because you're not really relying on your watch to save your life anyway. The typical use case of a diver bezel is to estimate how much oxygen you've got left in your tank. Therefore it's only unidirectional and it can only show you less than you have. It doesn't give you a wrong estimation of more. But this has a different function, so it's not to that spec and doesn't matter to the common consumer. I don't really think so. It's just more practical to quickly change it. Now the case back of the watch is also slightly different because it's got that nice engraving, which is a nod to the Marine Nationale, because on the dial itself they don't have any hint of that. A lot of people were speculating that perhaps the dial will come with an emblem or logo of that anchor, which is characteristic of Marine Nationale and their collaboration. But it's nice that the dial has a clean aesthetic and it doesn't have something to disturb the symmetry. Now another key thing is between this and the regular Pelagos, it's less expensive and you only get it in blue. So right now blue dial is the only option. Perhaps in the future they might launch a black dial or some other color. Don't really know if that's happening or not, but that's a key difference. You can't get this with the regular black dial. Now overall, what do I think of this piece, this release? Now I'm not someone that's too concerned with the actual history of Tudor and Marine Nationale. I'm looking at it in the perspective of what the watch itself actually offers to me or to the consumer, let's say. And I think it's a really cool piece. And I think it's particularly well priced because it's a bit more expensive than the Black Bay 58, but it's quite a bit less expensive than the Pelagos, the standard version. And that makes sense because you don't get that really nice titanium bracelet with that super cool, easy link extension system that Tudor has. Now in terms of the fixed lugs, does that bother me? It doesn't particularly bother me because I like NATO straps and that's a perfect fit for this watch. And overall, let me know what you guys think of this piece, especially the fixed bracelet bars, and whether that's a hindrance or something positive to you, and how you like this particular collaboration. Were you expecting something more of the dial? Were you expecting a different color? Or are you disappointed that it doesn't have the 500 meters of water resistance? And would you have traded that for the reduction in thickness? Do you not mind a thicker watch? Put all your thoughts below in the comment section. You can find me on Instagram at StandardTimeInsta. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next video. Cheers.